I went through a process of having a breakdown because I just didn't know what my future would look like. I didn't know if I could ever achieve anything, whether I would ever date, whether people would be interested, all sorts of things. There were a lot of friends who just never called me again. Hi, I'm Natalie Balmain. I'm 37 years old and I'm from the UK. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in January 2007, just 3 months before my 21st birthday. Before I was diagnosed was that I was losing a lot of weight very quickly. But I was young, I was 20, and in my mind, I thought this was the time that everyone talked about where your puppy fat just dropped off. And so at first I was really pleased about it. But what was coming along with it that I didn't realise was that crept up on me was I was getting more and more thirsty and more tired. And it was those things combined that led my family to become quite worried about me. So type 1 diabetes is when your body doesn't produce any of its own insulin. All of us normally produce insulin in our bodies, and insulin is a bit like a key. It's what turns everything that you eat and drink into energy or fat storage when you're diagnosed with type 1 diabetes or any long-term illness that you'll live with for the rest of your life, is that you actually go through a grieving process. You grieve the life that you thought you were going to have. At 20 years old, there were lots of things that I thought that I was going to do. I was a dancer and I thought that I was going to make more of a performing career out of dancing. But when I was diagnosed, I started to have a lot of low blood sugars, which led to seizures from dancing and having poor control of my blood glucose levels. And so I very quickly became scared of the thing that I'd formerly loved to do. It also changed my group of friends. I used to go out partying a lot and drinking and smoking. And when I couldn't do that anymore because I wasn't very well, there were a lot of friends who just never called me again. So it was hard to realise just how little you might have meant to some people, or, who your real friends were. All of those things, of course, can make you struggle with your mental health. And I certainly did. I went through a process of having a breakdown because I just didn't know what my future would look like. I didn't know if I could ever achieve anything, whether I would ever date, whether people would be interested, all sorts of things. And at the same time struggling with trying to keep myself alive every day. It quickly became a big problem, and I struggled with depression and suicidal thoughts. I must be the only person that this terrible thing happens to. And you're actually not. And panicking and feeling alone and isolated in these things doesn't help your situation. So if you can access support, and a lot of these support groups are online because we're not all geographically in the same location, and if you can access other people who might be able to just support you, give you some advice because they're going through the same thing, it's a wonderful thing to have. In 2017, I launched a world first. It was a completely novel concept at the time, which was a clothing range for type 1 diabetics. And I launched with a 12-piece ladies wear collection, inspired purely by my own experiences. So I basically designed a line of 12 pieces that I would want to wear, dresses and jumpsuits and skirts and trousers, but all of them had zips as part of the design that looked like they were just a fashion choice. It was very much inspired by Michael Jackson's Bad outfit. I always said most of my fashion is inspired by that. But the zips were practical. They opened to skin so that you could do your injections without having to go into a public bathroom and get half undressed or feeling like you had to hide away. You should never feel ashamed of saving your own life. So that was the thinking behind the line, and people appreciated it. It did really well. My message for the world is just put yourself in somebody else's shoes and try to be kind. I think the thing about having type 1 diabetes, it's made me so much more understanding of other people, because I know sometimes people don't get what I'm going through. It's helped me to have a happier, more positive life, more positive interactions with other people. And so I think it could really help you as well. If you're struggling, just be kind, and you never know what that's going to do, not just for other people, but for you as well.